routing and switching, and we'll look at the process of DHCP for IPv4. So let's just start we've got a Wireshark, and we're just going to look at what our addresses are. So and you can see that we don't have anything on our Ethernet, so we're not plugged into a switch. And we've got a Wi-Fi adapter, and we've got an address on here, which is 192.168.0.254, and it's in brackets preferred, which means it's been leased from the server. And we've got a default gateway of 192.168.0.1, and we've got a hardware address of 90.61.AE.73.CF.44, and let's go and look at what our hardware address is of our DHCP router, our server. We know there are 192.168.0.1 because that's our gateway, and we've got a 20. So we've just written some of this stuff down here. We've got our hardware address. We know we've got a router connected by wireless, and we're looking at the process of DHCP. So DHCP for us is a UDP process, and we have port 67 as the server and 68 as our client. So we're going to go and run a UDP port 68 from the client's perspective, and we're going to watch the process of getting an address. Well, the first thing we'll do is we'll get rid of our address. So if we release our address, here we've got a DHCP release. And if we go and look at that inside our user datagram port, there's our source port, which is us. We're talking to the server, and we're saying we'd like to release our address. It's just a unicast, so it goes directly to there. And here's the release option. There's our DHCP server, so we can actually match up now that our router is doing DHCP. Let's now request an address, which is a renew. We're going to get an operation can't be performed while Ethernet is disconnected, so we'll just break that command. Now, if you're on Ethernet, you could disable your Ethernet. We're going to turn our Wi-Fi off and on because we want to initiate the process of getting an address. And there's our first packet, which is a discover. Then very quickly we get an offer, a request, and an acknowledgement. So let's go and look at those individually. The discover is from our client. Now we don't have an address because we released it. And it's a 255 broadcast. And in there, we're asking, can we have an address? So we're looking for a discover packet, and there it is. Now you'll see that there's quite a few options inside here. So we've got an option 53, which is discover. Some other things to note, Ethernet 0x01 is the hex address, and a 01 for us is going to be IPv4. At layer 2 we're broadcasting, at layer 3 we're broadcasting. So we're asking anyone out there, can they give us an address? Then we go from the offer, which is the return packet from our server, in this case our router. So we've got a source address. And if we go and look inside here, our client address at this point doesn't have an IP attached to it. There's a your client address that they're going to bundle into the packet, but it's not attached to our network interface card yet. It's only part of this UDP datagram. And it's an offer. Now we're back on our device. We still don't have an IP as our laptop, and we're sending a broadcast out, and we're going to request what they bundled into their packet, which was their 254 address. So we're going to say, we would like that address, please. Now the interesting thing is we know where the server is, but we are not going to put in a destination that is the router's address. And the reason is this. The first packet was a broadcast. It was our discover. Then we got a offer. It's a broadcast address, which is a unicast because it knows where this came from the MAC address side. So it can send it back through to the MAC address as a unicast. Then we've got, and inside there we've been given an IP of .254, but we're still a 0000 IP at this stage. Then we're going to say, we would like to request that address, please, .254. So inside the router, that's going to put a binding to our MAC address, and it's going to have a lease of pool here, and it's got some leases in there. So this might be our lease here of .254, and it's going to bind us to 90.61, so it knows who's got what address. But why is this a broadcast as a 255? The reason is you can have multiple DHCP servers on your LAN or Ethernet segment. Because you're broadcasting it out here and you can have pools, these pools are linked and they can talk to each other. So they know who's given out what address. So now this DHCP knows that 254 has been taken. So it doesn't offer it out to someone else, because then you'd get a duplicate address there. So Cisco will test you on this, but it makes sense that it has to be a broadcast because you can have multiple DHCP servers. So discover, offer, request, and then the last is the acknowledge, where it bundles it because you asked for it. It now takes that out of the lease there, the pool, sorry. It's going to lease it, but it takes it away from the pool. Now, after this, the IP will go onto the NIC card itself. Well, it's attached to the computer or laptop, not the NIC card, because that's layer 2. So here's our acknowledge packet. Now we've got a lease time. Before we didn't have any lease. So you'll see that these options change as you go through. We've got a lease here. Well, let's clear that. And we'll start another Wireshark. Now this time, all we're going to do is release and renew it, and we won't turn it on and off. Release. and I want to renew it. Now we're going to turn this on and off. And we'll turn it back on. I get my discover offer request accept again. So let's just clear that. This time we're just going to turn it on and off. Now I don't get a discover offer request and acknowledge. All I get is a request and acknowledge. And why is that? Well, because I haven't released the address. So I've still got the address on my device. Because I've turned off, I've just got to go and talk to my DHCP server and say, well, while I was off, did my lease time run out? And did you offer it to someone else? And that's what would happen here. That if I was turned off, just change color. I've got a lease time. Now that lease time ran out and someone else joined the network and they got that address, I would need to request to see if that address was still there. Now, the address was there. So now I just have to say, can I please have that as a request? Which goes up this way. And the acknowledge comes down this way. So it's a shorter process. So make sure you know that process in your CISCO exams as well.